What's up, peeps? This week, I'm repainting a piece that I've been wanting to repaint since, well, probably about the time I released the original video. This small cabinet is going to live in my office now, so I'm keeping the faux turquoise, but I'm going for a totally different vibe. I'm Jen. This is Copper Cactus DIY. Welcome to the video. Now let's get started. I started by cleaning everything with degreasing dish soap and water. Not only the cabinet, but I did the drawer face too. And I know you're all waiting for my dresser restoration video. Nobody is ready to get that video done more than me, but there were so many steps on that restoration that it's taking some time to weed out the good stuff for footage. Hang tight, I assure you that's coming next week, but I didn't want to leave you hanging this week, so I decided to film this quick repaint. Like I said, I'm not repainting the faux. It took me ages, and I'm still really proud of that finish. Only the cabinet needs an overhaul. As I scuff sand this piece with my Black & Decker mouse sander and a 220 grit sanding disc, let me just say this. At first, I wanted this color. It felt very desert southwest, which goes great with turquoise. But I opted to keep this piece, and even though I do live here, southwest is not my office vibe. Oh, and that reminds me, I'm actually doing another very big piece for my office in a couple of weeks during the Spring Fling Challenge. That one is hosted by Sab at Sab's Rehabs, and you'll want to subscribe so you don't miss that makeover. I am getting all kinds of colorful, and it's going to be so much fun. I wiped things down and left it to dry. The top sunk down a bit when I painted it originally, and it's bugged me ever since. So I filled that void with some Ace brand wood filler and a Japan scraper, and I left that to fully dry. Once it was fully dry, I sanded it with a 220 grit and smoothed out the filler until it was flat and level. I cleaned the dust off with a slightly damp rag and then left that to dry entirely. I'm using this chalkboard paint to coat this cabinet. It's got a chalk paint-like application and it won't show scuff marks once it gets top coated. But you can see just how good the pigment is on this stuff, right? Not to mention, it self-levels super flat and smooth once it dries down. The formula is thick and it's pretty goopy, but it's not chunky. I had it on hand and I wanted to use it up before it dried out anyway, and I knew it would be perfect for this piece. So I would take just a small amount on the ends of my brush, and then I apply that as evenly as possible using random brush strokes to fill it. Once I got the paint down, I did go back over everything to smooth out my brush strokes, but that was a literal force of habit because as you can see in this time lapse, this stuff levels down super smooth. The drawer face got top coat when I first completed the piece, but I added 2 more heavy coats of Faux Effects Varnish Plus in a satin finish. I didn't go so thick that it would bubble, but I wanted almost like a flood coat on this drawer face to create more depth in the finish. I'm going for kind of a polished stone look. And this varnish self-levels beautifully as long as it doesn't get overworked. It will start out kind of purple tinted like you can see here, but that does completely go away as soon as it dries down. I did the second coat off camera the next morning. Speaking of the next morning, according to the instructions, the paint needs to dry for 24 hours. So I waited the night, then I came back to add a final coat of the chalkboard paint. After 2, I got full coverage and it was looking pretty sweet. Then I left everything to dry for about 4 hours. For the cabinet top coat, I used a 2-inch putty and applied a solid coat of Varathane water-based top coat, also in a satin finish. This top coat is great. It doesn't self-level like the Faux Effects brand does, but brush strokes can be kept minimal with the right brush. But I honestly don't mind the brush strokes. I kind of think it complements the wood grain that's showing through the paint, and it gives it a more natural feel. A few hours later, I added a second coat off camera. Then I called it a wrap on my Faux Turquoise small cabinet repaint. Don't forget to subscribe for next week's dresser restoration video and for the Spring Fling collab that's coming up on March 26th. But that's all I've got for you today. Hang in for the beauty shots. Thanks so much for being here and watching. Later, peeps! Wood fill. The top. Oh, this is supposed to be high speed. Never mind, delete this. Come on, motherfucker. I'm just not doing this today all day. Oh no. My socket feet.